If I could be a hybrid species, here's what I would be. A creature who's one half hyena and one half me. And should I be called to testify upon my own behalf, I'd take the stand and be sworn in, then laugh and laugh and laugh. In the Kanuri language of the Bornu region of Western Africa, the word for hyena, bultu, connotes one who is unsettled, does not remain in one state, an individual who vacillates between strength and weakness. Hyena are even able to shift between sexes, as well as from human to hyena form. The verb bultongen, signifying, I transform myself into a hyena. There's said to be an entire town or two who can do it. A formidable ability considering hyena notoriety both proverbially as well as in popular mythology. The public image of hyena is generally not very pretty, because neither, according to many, is the hyena, with its tragic mouth and down-slope eyes, ursine, lumbering and slobbering like a zombie St. Bernard, mournful looking as the mug of Goya's Kronos. But according to a proverb of the Hausa tribe, every fault is left at the door of the hyena, though it does not steal a bale of cloth. The tongue of the hyena is barbed like the tongue of a cat. Some human beings are surprised by that, because they suppose hyena more resemble dogs than cats, when in fact they are neither of those. Most closely related to meerkats and mongoose, hyena constitute their very own family. Hyenae, order Carnivora, genus and species Crocuta crocuta, named after a mythical wolf dog with supernaturally powerful teeth and instantaneous digestion, which lure dogs and men to their doom, assuming a human voice and calling them by name, feigning the identity of a loved one in distress just beyond that clump of shrubbery. Not such a trustworthy namesake to be saddled with. A little like naming someone low down snake in the grass or something like that, rather stacking the odds against social success. And so yes, nobody loves a hyena, they're carrion eaters, grave robbers, shapeshifters, liars, and cheaters with a bad reputation for repugnant gustation. This in addition to being cowards and scavengers, demons and enemies of the church, overturning sepulchres and devouring the corpses of innocent converts. Furthermore, hyena are sexual perverts, known whores and hermaphrodites. Chicks with dicks who can switch at will which sexy bits they wish to copulate with. They operate within the mythical dimension, with intentions that are shifty and shady, always changing from one thing to another, not entirely stable. You might almost feel sorry for the poor guys, but bear in mind the Mandi proverb that reminds, it's never wise to show a hyena how well you can bite. Hyena, hyena, cattle of night, courser of witches with lanterns alight, burning hyena butter, anal glandular putty rubbed up against branches in two tones like tiger balm, red and white, gathered by witches in gourds to light their course, then mounting hyena take flight onto the astral plane to do nuisance there. Hyena, hyena, cattle of night, courser of witches with lanterns alight, burning hyena butter, gathered in gourds to light their course. Here the hyena is bringer of light. With eyes open wide and a fine set of canines, hyena cubs come into the world via the so-called pseudo-penis of their mothers. In fact, an elongated clitoris of identical dimension to the male apparatus, making labor a particularly arduous process, but still downright impressive and not well understood, while the females are packing in the hyena sisterhood. Then there's that laugh of hers, that maniacal cackle which screws with eustachian tubes, haunting the hearer ad nauseum like some kind of voodoo tinnitus. Now a crying baby, then suddenly a crazy lady, really makes you wonder what hyena finds so funny. Unless that laugh is a call to bear witness to some shift in emphasis from general culpability to a clearer analysis of how maybe you've been lied to by the same set of standards that has tried to define you. From symbol of depravity to source of light and clarity, what hyena best exemplify is that which can't be quantified, like natural science before Wallace and Darwin, a curiosity cabinet resisting easy definition. If I could be a hybrid species, here's what I'd be. A creature who's half hyena and half me. And when I'm called to testify upon my own behalf, I'll take the stand and be sworn in and laugh and laugh and laugh. Meanwhile, the profile emerges of hyena as scavenger, despite that they're equally talented hunters. Indeed, it may be lions do the lion's share of scavenging, if we tally who steals whose kill most frequently, but lions have a better public image, shall we say. So as explained in a proverb of Swahili, the leavings of the lion are welcome to the hyena. So the truth is, hyena are just better eaters. Seriously, they're marvels of digestive efficiency. Hyena feces is as white as chalk and dry as rye Vita. I seen it. You could probably draw a hopscotch on the sidewalk with that shit. Enzymes in their digestive tracts can extract blood from a stone with tooth and jaw designed to grind bone. Not a narrow like a marrow left unscoured. Nothing going to waste. Kind of brings back happy memories of your anarchist squatter days in East Vancouver in the late 80s. Scavenger was never a bad word, it was what you aspired to be. Diving into dumpsters in the parking lot behind Safeway, they could pretty well feed all 38 squatters and what the supermarket chucked out every day. And can it really be stealing if the lions already abandoned it and walked away? And when Safeway started putting padlocks on the dumpsters, wasn't that pretty much sour grapes? So you went similarly out of your way to subsist on the waste of society because you didn't want to pay for what it pandered. And in 6 abandoned houses, the squatters took up residence, hooked up phone and power just like regular citizens, and petitioned the city to save those perfectly livable bungalows from demolition, instead of throwing up still more fancy condos for which not a soul in the whole neighborhood had the dough. The point wasn't solely to draw attention to the plight of the homeless. It was to avoid joining them. But when Great Aunt Enid saw squatters on the evening news, she refused to accept that any relation of hers could fall in with people like those. Long hairs, political radicals, unwed mothers. Couldn't they settle into proper jobs instead of cluttering up the steps of City Hall? Aunt Enid had worked as an office clerk her entire life, and it never hurt her any. But you do have a job, you tell Great Aunt Enid, and this is aside from rescuing perfectly edible fruits and vegetables from landfills. You also work in the stainless steel, steamy industrial kitchen of a fancy hotel downtown, where they chucked out enough food every night to feed a crowd. Food which no employee was even allowed to salvage, at least not officially, which is why some rules are not meant to be paid attention to. And you arrange to be the one who takes out the trash at the end of the night, dash to a phone booth, and call up a certain United Church on the downtown east side, a neighborhood where homeless persons often line the curb like that ridge of dust at the edge of the pan, which never gets swept up quite. And you wait in the back alley for the minister's Black Mariah with headlights dimmed, and you deliver the food bins to him, carefully stacked in garbage bags, a flat of mashed potatoes and carrots, a tray of Boston creams, or whatever it happens to be, which breach of legality the good folks at the downtown church are only too happy to recycle into meals for local people, the broke, the addicted, and mentally ill, helping keep body and soul together another night. Because we might as well admit it, most folks don't love the homeless anymore, then they'd love to see a family of hyena move in next door. They likely have lice, or worse, homelessness may be contagious like some economic virus. Best not even look at a homeless person. You find yourself suddenly flat on your ass and addicted to crack at the corner of poverty and despair, and then you die there. But hope springs eternal from darkened doorways and shrubberies. The more dire the fight for survival, the greater the necessity for levity, which must be why they call it making light. If I could be a hybrid species, here's what I'd be. A creature who's half hyena and half me. And when I'm called to testify upon my own behalf, I'll take the stand and be sworn in and laugh and laugh and laugh. The next one, sweating like a horse up here. The next one is not about horses. It's about Antelopes. The narrator for most of this poem, usually I have like two sticks on my head looking like an egg, one looking like an antelope, in a helmet with sticks. So that the narrator for this poem is an antelope for most of it. It'll sort of morph into a young human being at some point, and that'll be pretty obvious. But it starts out as an antelope complaining about being a prey animal, and it's called The Lottery. You heard it from an antelope and tried to tell your analyst the rational explanation for your nervousness. Listen, no impala is stupid. Huh? We may look that way because of the staring and chewing. Staring and chewing. But listening intently is what we're really doing. We have no choice. We know the stats. We're the primary diet of various big cats, painted dogs, and spotted hyenas. Essential ingredients in nature's great opus. But unfortunately for us, it's a cookbook. Look, it's no coincidence there's over 100,000 of us impalas here in Kruger Park, but only like 1,600 lions. All too delighted to invite us to dine, huh? Hey, here's some ruminant humor for you. How do you get 100 impala to leave your house party, huh? Just drop everything and listen. When I was young, I used to wait for everyone to suddenly start running all at once in the same direction at a frantic pace. Except for that one dude. Too old, too young, too sick, or too stunned, stupid to move, even when pheromonally warned to by the whole group. But the poor dupe, his last words were, "Where's everyone running to?" Oh, dang, I'm screwed. Then those dreadful guttural noises of predator crushing esophagus. When the rest of us finally reach safety, maybe we try to comfort each other. Well, you know, Joe, that whole branch of the family shrub was so slow, it's a wonder it didn't all die out eons ago. For an antelope, the age of innocence is short. But what can you do? You gotta know, if you're not trying to eat anybody, most likely somebody's trying to eat you. They say we all drink from the same pool, but no antelope takes lingering cat naps in the mid-afternoon unless he's a damn fool. We're at the bottom of the pyramid, so our numbers need be myriad. We lack the luxury to lounge around belly aching over how they misspelled our names on the menu. We've got more important things to do than ruminate over the meaninglessness of existence with you. Leave the philosophizing to the predators who do love to have something amusing to muse upon while they're all about digesting. After an antelope reaches maturity, it serves no earthly purpose to assert her personality against the rest of the herd. That kind of behavior is never in the interest of self-preservation. When you're a prey animal, you need to blend in with the herd, not be seen and not be heard, because it could be any of us at any time. It's pretty random, really. The young bucks are lucky for their antlers and their speed, but all of us are fast. You have to be, or you're lunch meat. Scapegoat tar. It's a little like living in a science fiction movie or in Shirley Jackson's short story, The Lottery. The very collectivity we rely upon for security also makes us complicit in this ritual culling of antelope society. It's roughly the same every time. As soon as the day seems to be going maybe a little too peacefully, we all get to feeling jumpy like we're being spied on by leonine eyes or leered at by sneering hyena. The chief does his best to warn us about whatever it is, but very often another mother's child goes missing again. There's no justice in it. It just is like this. An antelope needs to hit the ground running even before the word go. Quadrupedalism ain't as easy as it looks, you know. Any newborn oryx or gnu needs to sort it out soon so he can hoof it with the rest when he hears the alarm, and then we all just try to hang together. Whoever becomes separate from the group is pretty well doomed, and everyone knows it. Yet some of us seem to be brought into the world for a little more reason than this. So folks think we antelope don't care about our kids as much as certain other animals do because we don't spend like a whole year teaching them how to hunt and fish. They say we expose our kids to too many treacherous situations too young, as though we had any say in the matter other than smothering every single one. If it's not my child who's taken to feed the lions, it'll be another mother's child. So it's no less my loss than hers if she's bereaved first. It could really be any of us. Do you think antelope have time to mope about at funerals like elephants do for their dead? There's not usually much left of us, to be blunt about it. So we don't take each other's company too much for granted. Keep ears and eyes open and try to blend in with the foliage. Early life can be a minefield for any kid who's a little bit different. It seems inevitable even junior society will pick out and crucify certain personalities as a sign to the rest to stay in line. Some are cast out into the wilderness where they stumble into the clutches of predators, brambles of crime, running rampant all around them because there very often is no warning sign and there is no catcher in the rye. You can't ultimately protect a child from barreling blindly headfirst into her own fate now, can you? Couldn't it be she's just at the wrong place at the wrong time? Couldn't it be she's just walking home from the 7-Eleven a few blocks from her house, even feeling a wee bit saucy in her new maroon ski jacket and stretched denim jeans, grade 8 being the first year she doesn't have to wear the polyester flood pants with the elastic waistband. No! But actual clingy-ass stretched denim jeans. Then lo and behold, a full pack of grown men with ice-cold, extra old stock beer and stubby bottles, sunglasses, sideburns, and mustaches whistle at her as she passes the front porch, where they're standing around like the spitting image of a Bob Seger tribute band. This gang of jackasses is out there every week, partying in that yellow house right across the street from the high school. They like to tell a girl that one of her friends is already there at the party. Then maybe they give her her very first beer. So she has no way of telling if it tastes a bit weird, then... Hey, wait a minute, there are no other girls in here. But now who's this guy with the worried eyes, claps his buddy on the shoulder, says 13 gets you 30, Kebby, some kind of brotherly warning you don't fully grasp. The same worried-eyed guy who asked your age and you lied and said 13 when it was still 3 weeks to your birthday. But it's too late, you already hate your stretched denim jeans if they just make you look like some dumb slut flattered by drunks whistling in her butt, but resistance is chemically dissipating. As though your brain were melting in a pool of wax beside the bare mattress, as though you'd solidify there by the bare zebra-striped mattress, unaware and completely unconscious of how you got upstairs in the first place. And no, it wouldn't get Kevy 30 years or even 30 gray hairs if he didn't get caught, which he was not apt to do if you didn't press charges, which you, in perverse defiance of your parents, are not on your life about to do. Not after having to deal with being dragged to emergency and having your mother, who hasn't even said 2 words to you, hovering over you in the examination room. She doesn't speak, doesn't seem to want to touch you. Just keeps her arms wrapped tightly around herself as though afraid her ribs might fall open. While her adolescent daughter lies askew on the white sheets like a peeled carcass. It seemed the only thing to do to reclaim your own dignity was to say no. No, you didn't want to press charges. No, 1,000 times no. You'd really rather forget the whole fucking thing, thanks all the same. You didn't want to see that gang of creeps again. You kidding me? Hell no. You have no intention of even mentioning the subject to anyone ever again. But then, 2 days later, find yourself wandering back to the same yellow house as one returns to the scene of a crime to find it gutted. Gutted. No blaring silver bullet band, no puffy vinyl furniture seen through the picture window. You probably left that stinky bare mattress right there on the upstairs floor, though no one would bother saving something like that. And suddenly a man speaks and scares you half out of your wits, but when you turn around, it's only the elderly owner of the building asking if you knew the guys who lived there. No. You don't know them at all. Why does he want to know? Because they just took off and left overnight without telling a soul where they were going, he says. Every last one of those young men took off out of here like they thought someone was chasing them. Like they thought someone was chasing them, he heard the man say, as though you were the predator, and they were the prey. Cheers. With your kind indulgence, I have one more poem I will do. Yes? Yeah. Cheers. This one is the same character. It's a little lighter than that one, I promise. And it's about those things that happen that are really horrible at the time and only after 2, 3, 10, 20 years become funny and maybe even a source of wisdom. It's called School of Hard Knock Knock Jokes. John Cleese and John Lennon have a few things in common, both being British, born around 1940, and well beloved by you and your best friend Molly when you were in the 8th grade. Each is additionally the indirect cause of your nearly getting beaten up by the junior girls lacrosse team on one occasion, and quite thoroughly beaten up on another. The junior girls lacrosse team hate you, and your best friend Molly too, ever since they caught the two of you practicing your John Cleese silly walks in the parking lot after school. Cameron Dowd, Kelly Boudreau, and them corner you and want to know what kind of freaking retards are you anyhow? No, they've never heard of Monty Python's Flying Freak Show, one of them said. The other one wants to know if you've ever heard of a punch in the head. But this first altercation turned out rather well. You and Molly simply wrestled free and ran like hell. It had been such a saving grace in so many ways to have met each other. Molly had just walked right up to you on the first day of school, heard you were a bit of a weirdo, she said, which was cool, because people said that about her, too. Molly wore a purple sweater vest, had shoulder-length hair the color of prairie wheat, bright blue eyes, and very straight teeth with shiny silver braces on them. Her grandparents came from Ukraine, and she was going to be a famous painter someday. She could draw better than anybody. Horses, dogs, ladies, you name it. You love to draw too, but certain things like perspective and proportion just didn't come naturally to you. It was even Molly who'd introduced you to the Beatles in the first place. And though Beatle music was the best thing in your life besides Molly. So, the year is 1980, and Molly turns 13 years old today. She makes chocolate cake in a bag, like in the Ballad of John and Yoko, for the two of you to eat seated cross-legged, backs against lockers at lunchtime. But before you even reach recess, there's this gaggle of grinning 8th graders singling you out to tell you some info they hope will upset you. They want to know if you've heard the news yet, that Jack Lemmon has just been shot. At the age of 12, you're not even sure who that person is. You reckon some Hollywood actor your parents' generation, but the gentleman you're picturing in your head is not Jack Lemmon, but Walter Matthau instead. You think it's depressing that someone would shoot some old actor, but why are they telling this to you in particular? The disappointed boys submerge into the migration of students streaming down the halls, and it isn't till later that afternoon you and Molly learn the truth. It's all over the news, radio and television, swarming like a virus. It crackles into every ear, leaving emptiness in its wake, into which empty space flows music like a healing balm. You stay on the phone with Molly all night, sniffling to radio station vigils by candlelight. A few weeks later, there's a series of noon-hour symposiums in the school auditorium. Any student who wishes to could get up at a podium in front of a microphone and rattle on about whatever topic stokes them. One girl spends the whole hour extolling Mike Reno of Loverboy, while another boy wears a bedsheet and models his symposium after those of ancient Greece. And another kid talks really quietly about why divorce should be illegal. You convince yourself that this is your opportunity to do some good in the name of global peace and harmony. So you put together a little speech about Ahimsa, Mahatma Gandhi, and the history of non-violent resistance, closing with a coda about John Lennon and the irony of that deluded gunman citing Catcher in the Rye as writing inciting his misguided mind to violence. But just as you're about to close, someone calls out from the very back row, "Wait! There's something they're just dying to know." The voice steps out into the light, and oh cripes, it's Cameron Dowd and Kelly Boudreau. And Cameron says, "So, are you saying that if somebody punched you right in the face, you wouldn't even punch back?" And you think, dang, I'm screwed. You can't just drop John Lennon and Mahatma Gandhi too like a pair of pacifist hot potatoes. All you can really do is say no. No, Cameron, I would not punch that person. You say and try to mean it, but all you feel is personal doom descending like a heavy velvet curtain. If you gain a piece of wisdom, then fail to act in accordance with it, does the wisdom go away again, or are you just a hypocrite? If you're not even as good as your word, then you're not worth spit, so you reckon you better get on with it and finish your speech by making a peace sign to the 3 people still listening, then beating a hasty retreat out the backstage door and onto the soccer green. But it's too late! The junior girls lacrosse team is already heading you off at the pass, a sort of fox and hound scenario at the double doors behind the drama class with Amazonian Kelly Boudreau leading the pack with the battle cry, "We are so going to kick your ass." But it's saddening. Half a dozen jocks versus 1 vegetarian pacifist. So after they've all had a chance to rough you up a bit, most fall back, leaving just Cameron Dowd standing over you, blocking out the clouds, asking again if you're sure you don't want to change anything you said. Again, you say, no. So Cameron winds back and clouts you right in the head. And it came to pass that whacks in the head became closely associated with a number of significant life events, as though your skull were so thick you needed to be literally clouded into the next level of sense. And you found sense of humor to be a saving grace. You take the original long, sad story and replace it with something short and pithy as a flounder to the face. You come to see that that which nearly kills you can become hilarious eventually, and to view life as like an old movie in shaky black and white with the rickety piano from those bygone days of silent film when it was just plain funny, when somebody took a tumble down 3 flights of stairs, or his pants catch on fire, or he's beaten repeatedly about the head and shoulders by the parasol of an irate dowager. Such primitive methods of advancing plot have been known more commonly than not as slapstick comedy, named after the Bataccio. It was a slapping stick with a flap, which inflicted more sound than fury on thespians of commedia dell'arte who struck one another with it. Since as long ago as the 16th century, the Bataccio had enabled actors to beat each other silly while causing very little actual physical damage, and so for the theater, reduced liability. There had been very similar implements back in the institution. Made of the same squidgy styrofoam as swimming noodles, you were supposed to whack your caseworker with it when he was really getting under your skin. But in too controlled an environment to accomplish much of anything. Whereas your own whacks to the head had been genuine article, as though you'd been one of those jukeboxes which just doesn't play. Till some karmic guru comes and whacks it in just the right way. Thank you.